Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Left, Wrong, and Center. Today, I am joined by a special guest, Perry Wood, who is running for County Executive of Erie County. Perry Wood grew up the son of a first sergeant in the U.S. Army, as a Boy Scout camp counselor, an Eagle Scout, and a soccer player. Now, he is a father, a coach, and someone who has spent his entire adult life working in and around government, bringing people together and fostering new ideas to move Northwest Pennsylvania forward. Perry currently serves as the executive director of the Erie County Gaming Revenue Authority, where, in his own words, he gets to fund ideas. In more technical terms, it means that he works with elected officials, community leaders, small business owners, and residents all over Erie County to revitalize and strengthen our community with gaming revenue. Now, Perry is running for county executive to invest in the county's emergency management infrastructure, expand on public-private partnerships that drive economic development, and restore transparency to county government. Perry lives in Mill Creek and has a daughter at Penn State and a son at McDowell High School. Thank you so much for being here, Perry Wood.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Same here. Very excited to have you. First and foremost, can you educate people on what the Erie County Executive role actually is and how it fits in with our form of government here?
Absolutely. So the county executive, of course, it's the executive branch of local government. It works with the council. The county council's job is to pass laws and ordinances, to pass the budget, and to make appropriations. And it's the executive's job to carry out those appropriations, to propose and implement programs that are part of that budget that gets created, and of course to create the budget itself. The executive's role is heavy on overseeing the human services infrastructure of our community, which is things like the public safety net, Department of Health, the prison, OCY, drug and alcohol. But then, of course, there's economic development and public safety components as well.
Okay. So a lot of working with money and a lot of working with people, to sum it up for everybody. So why are you running for county executive? Why now in 2025? What is it that you feel qualifies you to run this county of 300,000 people? And what sets you apart as the person that Democrats should trust not only to go up against Bretton Davis, but to lead after that election in such a tumultuous time for elected leaders?
Yeah. I mean, put simply, I'm running because I love Erie County. This is my home. I think that its full potential has not been reached. And we have so many amazing people that live here and assets and organizations. I want to continue to be a part of that solution. And the county executive's office is a pivotal role in that because it is the one administrative unit that oversees all 38 municipalities, 12 school districts, and thousands of organizations and 270,000 people. It's a $600 million budget. And, budgets are really a explanation of your values.
Yes.
Like how you spend your money shows what you value. And that's what I plan to do as county executive. Now, you asked, why trust me as a Democrat. I've been involved with the Democratic Party for the last 25 years and helping to strengthen it. But I also have great crossover appeal. In fact, there's a lot of Republicans that are supporting me in this endeavor. The number one question I got when I said I was going to do this was, which party are you registered for? And there's a reason for that. It's because in my roles, I've been very nonpartisan. I've played the role of improving the local economy and getting things done by crossing the aisle. Collaboration is very important to me. Republicans and Democrats need to move this county forward.
Absolutely. And it's a very purple county, for lack of better phrasing. So that's kind of a key quality, I think, in a leader here. What are your main priorities for Erie County should you win the primary and the general election and be elected to this role?
Yeah, I mean, economic development is always going to be the top priority. We need to create jobs. What's interesting is how you do it as county executive is a little bit different. The current administration believes we need to build this giant bureaucracy and spend over $1 million a year on it. Well, they've tried that and they've failed numerous times. It's an experiment that's wasted a lot of taxpayer dollars. I'll go in there and I'll strengthen the existing economic development system. And let me tell you why that's important. There's genius in the way it's been created.
Okay.
You have the County Redevelopment Authority, whose job is to go in and revitalize blighted property and industrial sites. We need to give them the resources to succeed in that endeavor. Businesses will have a place to expand into and in rare circumstances relocate here as well. The majority of what we'll do, though, is to expand the businesses that are here and grow new ones by working with entrepreneurs. The Civic Center Authority brings in tourism. The EMTA makes sure people can get to and from work. The airport connects us with the world. And of course, ECGRA funds the economic development. That's an important system. And a group that shouldn't be overlooked in that is the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission.
Agree.
Diverse Erie, I think, is really important to our future to make sure that we have an inclusive economy. And it's one of the key groups doing it. When people ask me about that, I often say, we have to look at the numbers like we did at ECRA. When you look at our economy, where we're strong, we need to strengthen those areas. Advanced manufacturing, tourism, and the service sector, right? And this kind of high-tech service sector, which is up and coming in our region. So we're going to continue to do that through innovation and workforce development.
You kind of touched on it a little bit, but what about your experience do you believe will help you work with, talking about that bipartisan streak here, work with a county council that may or may not always align with you on your values 100% of the time? Right. How do you ensure good faith partnership, and how do you find common ground where possible?
Yeah, listen, the executive and the council don't have to agree upon everything.
Right.
But the beauty of our system is that it works when the two are civil, they talk to each other, and they work towards a solution. I've been doing that my entire career. The last 14 years I've been at the Erie County Gaming Revenue Authority, which means I've been traveling all over Erie County and working with local elected leaders on these exact issues. Township supervisors, borough managers, the city of Corey, Edinburgh, Fairview, all 38 municipalities. And the key thing is to start off by listening. You have to listen. Listening is the first step in leading. If you don't know where people are currently at, you don't know where you can take them.
Right.
And I think we have a bit of a listening problem going on right now in the courthouse. So from the executive's office, by the way. I have a great relationship with council. In fact, I've been endorsed openly by 3 of them. A fourth is probably forthcoming.
Yeah. And it's February, everybody.
And it's only February. But I think that's because I have a collaborative temperament.
Okay.
And temperament is a really important factor in being county executive. I mean, it's not a my way or the highway job. You're not a general. You're more like a coach, which is why you listen and then you encourage and empower others to succeed. That is sorely lacking in our current system.
Okay. Yeah, and for listeners who might not be aware, a lot of the municipalities that he just named, we're talking red, blue, purple. He's going all over the place. We're talking to people from both sides of the aisle. Again, kind of a key theme for this role. Going into some of the issues facing Erie County, we have a long history of manufacturing things and making things here.
Yeah, we make stuff. That's right.
Yeah, we make stuff in Erie. How do you, as county executive, ensure that young people are going into these skilled trades in order to keep manufacturing businesses here in Erie, and in the process, perhaps breaking some of that generational poverty that exists now?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a multi-layered question, but it's a phenomenal question because at the end of the day, we really need to have a skilled workforce in order to maintain what we currently have. I mean, we have some amazing innovation here in our advanced manufacturing sector. But the way I think, so what is the county's role in that piece? Because we have great institutions of higher ed, for example, and I've worked with them over the years. So we have 4 amazing institutions of higher ed. We set up the beehives with them at one point to make sure that the innovation going on there could be transported over to entrepreneurs. But what about the young people? What about the young people that are coming up? There is no panacea, right? There's no one-size-fits-all approach to this. And when I talk about workforce, I often talk about multiple types of interventions in order to get that skilled workforce. Community college is a big one in that factor. Yeah. And of course, that is the county's community college. We're super proud of it. I was part of the group, Empower Erie, that got it up and running in the first place. We were the first public sector funding to get Empower Erie off and running to advocate for the community college. I had all 7 members of my board were sold, like, we need to go in this direction. That is an important institution because it's flexible.
Okay.
So employers can say, okay, all of a sudden the demand has shifted as our industry has changed. We need the following types of workers, and they can move quickly and do it. But there's also smaller interventions that we've been a part of, like Tech After Hours at the Erie School District. I mean, that's basically taking the tech ed equipment that's there and saying, can we bring people in after school hours? Can we bring young adults in? Can we bring dislocated workers in and get them retrained for new industry? ECAT is another great example. Erie Center for Arts and Technology. I saw you had Daria on here before.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, she helped start that. She did an amazing job, and we helped fund that project. That's based on a model out of Pittsburgh that basically says, okay, we're going to look at the in-demand occupations that have a low barrier to entry, and we're going to get young people trained in that. Now, you mentioned intergenerational poverty. I couldn't agree more that working is a key component to solving the issue of poverty. We have to give people purpose. And the number one thing they find purpose in, obviously, is what they do that 8 hours a day when they go to work.
Even connecting the answer that I'm connecting this answer to a previous answer that you gave. You mentioned Daria, who was a guest on this podcast earlier. These offices and these roles intertwine, and they mix with each other, and they talk to each other, and having people that have that ability to collaborate is so important. And when you have somebody in this office that doesn't have that skill set or doesn't want to have that skill set, it's not such a great thing. So I like that you connected the dots there. Erie County has a shrinking population overall. One of the most consistent groups of people that are coming here, staffing our businesses, providing an essential chunk of our workforce, are legal refugees and immigrants. The current presidential administration has blocked refugee resettlement for 90 days in the United States. That's likely to see an extension. How do you see yourself advocating for these types of people that we need to continue staffing our businesses? A, given that both the state and the county voted for the current administration, and B, just the general hot button nature of this issue and the over politicization of this issue.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. The fact is, I think you can look at it from a bunch of different angles. One is that population is economy.
Yes.
Like, you can't grow your economy without people.
Yes.
You can make all the stuff in the world. People have to buy the stuff.
Right.
If you don't have any people, then you are shrinking. We've been lucky that our population has been relatively steady, right around 270,000 since the 2020 census. And we've been lucky because we have a regular inflow of immigrants. We have amazing institutions in our community that handle that in a legal and ethical and efficient process, and that's Catholic Charities, International Institute, and the U.S. Committee on Refugee Resettlement. So those three groups, just the fact that we have them to do that infrastructure is incredible. We need to continue to support them because what they're doing is abiding by the laws and helping refugees and immigrants come here and be a part of our economy.
What is the role of the county executive in attracting and retaining national and international businesses to and in Erie?
So I first want to say the biggest bang in your buck for economic development is growing local businesses, so it's entrepreneurs that are already here, and then expanding businesses that already exist.
Okay.
You get the most job creation and the biggest multiplier effect for the economy. But the question is what role to attract? And the answer is you need to have a business-friendly environment.
Yes.
Part of that is having reasonable taxes and having effective services. This current administration advocated for and got the largest tax increase in the history of Erie County government. I mean, I can't stress that enough because it took place at the same time that record levels of federal funding were coming into our region. There's a spending problem going on from the county executive's office, and that doesn't give owners of these companies, equity firms, the kind of confidence to want to come into our region. So we have to get that under control.
And it's interesting talking about the current administration and the tax increases and the spending problem. That's a label that's often thrown at Democrats, but we're talking about a Republican here that is spending irresponsibly. So I'm hearing plans to spend more responsibly, attract business, and have a business-friendly environment, which we don't feel we have now.
There's a bit of hypocrisy with the current administration. I mean, there were a lot of promises. I'm never going to raise taxes. I'm going to create efficiencies. We just haven't seen that actually come to fruition.
Surprise, surprise. Up until 2024, when Breeze Airways was added as a flight offering here in Erie, we had 1 to 2 daily flights out of our airport, usually to North Carolina for connecting flights. Is there a role for the county executive in not only maintaining our airport, but attracting perhaps new airlines and expanding our offerings here in Erie?
Yeah, there's absolutely a role. So the airport authority is partly appointed by county government.
Okay.
So it makes it an attaché of the county's economic development strategy, and it connects us with the world. And all of our top employers are saying we absolutely need to be connected with the world. We need to make it as convenient as possible for folks to come to us and vice versa, passengers, but also goods and cargo.
Right.
So the role is to support that airport and to continue with the Fly Erie Fund. I'm the vice chairman of the Fly Erie Fund.
Okay.
It was created as a public-private partnership to make sure that we could continue to stay competitive.
Okay.
It basically puts money into a pot and says, okay, we're going to attract a new airline, and we're going to get that airline to have a level of comfort, a level of guarantee financially that they won't lose their shirt on this community.
Okay.
And we start sending, new routes, like we've seen 2 new routes to Florida is
Yes.
the initial.
Yeah.
And then there's some exciting plans, which I'm not going to talk about here, about the other routes.
A teaser, everybody.
Little teaser. Stay tuned. But yeah, that's the role the county executive plays,
Okay.
is a cheerleader, and also to work with private industry to make sure that they come to the table and help fund a concept like this, since they're the one asking for it, while putting some public money at the table, like ECGRA. ECGRA was the first group to come to the table with public dollars and say, this is great economic development. It makes sense. Let's try out this amazing experiment. Other communities have done it, and they've been very successful. And I would say we've been very successful here so far as well. I was just talking to my mother this morning. She's going to be flying into Florida on one of these New Breeze airlines here in March.
Okay.
And so it's working. Like, there are local people that normally would go to Buffalo, Pittsburgh, or Cleveland that are now flying out of Erie. We need more of that.
And it sounds like there's an element of that is relationship building and having open dialogue with people and not shutting doors. So, again, theme here throughout this interview so far of being able to actually talk to people. Yes. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit. I don't want to talk too much about your opponent, but I want to kind of bring up a few points here. A popular Republican talking point in general has been that things are too expensive and that taxes are too high. Mm-hmm. I think on the nose, those are two things that most people that have an income would agree with. But Brenton Davis, as you said, ran on no new taxes or fees for the people of Erie County. And then in October of 2023, as you also said, proposed the largest property tax increase for his constituents in the history of Erie County. I'll say that again. Proposed the largest property tax increases for his constituents in the history of Erie County. I want to know what you view as the best way to increase county funding and revenue and how you would see it through in this role.
Yeah, so I think it starts with the fact that Erie County government is a service provider.
Okay.
I mean, it exists to provide services that stabilize the community in really important ways. Let me give you one example that is thought of as human services, but it's really economic development at the end of the day, and that is early childhood development and daycare. Mm-hmm. I mean, these initiatives are really important to we call it the workforce behind the workforce. Right?
Okay.
So the early childhood education teachers that go to work every day to take care of your kids so that you can go to work and be productive, be a productive member of our economy. We've looked at the studies, we've looked at the data. We know there's about 2,500 slots missing all across Erie County, 1,500 in the city, another 1,000 countywide. That's a real issue. That's an industry that needs to be propped up, that needs additional investment. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things I'm going to be doing in 2025 is working on shoring up that industry. Okay. We got a $2.5 million appropriation from County Council, and ECGRA is matching it with another $2.5 million. It's a $5 million to put into retaining that workforce, because they're every day, early childhood education. You can get paid better going to work at Target and Walmart than being an early childhood educator. And going back to what we said earlier about where you put your money is your values.
Yes.
I mean, that is
exactly
really bringing it home there. So we need to shore up that workforce with some type of incentive pay to keep them in place to retain those folks.
Okay.
Secondly, we need to expand upon the existing daycare and early childhood facilities that currently exist. That could be expanding through experiential aspects that improve the quality, and it could also be expanding the physical size of some of these locations. Plans are starting to come in. Folks are talking about, hey, I can add 50 slots here. I can add 100 here. We need the financing. So how can we help them move forward? And then finally, third, we may need to build a few more facilities.
Okay.
There's the CDCs, for example. have a plan to build 2 new facilities, and the JAM Foundation has a plan to build, they call it the Mini Miracle Micro Center.
Okay.
I mean, these are really exciting, kind of cutting-edge, state-of-the-art facilities that get you to the high-quality, affordable childcare that we need for our workforce.
Okay, great. Your would-be general election opponent, should you be nominated, is, to put it lightly, steeped in a bit of controversy. From many of his statements regarding successful women in politics to serious allegations of physical abuse, how do you, as a candidate, highlight these things that are, in my opinion, disqualifying for this office while keeping the issues that actually drive voters to the polls, taxes, jobs, services, safety, and inflation, front and center, and make sure that that is your focus?
Well, the current county executive's character issues aside,
Yeah.
the more important issue for a new county executive is to have the collaborative mindset to work with council on tackling the big problems of our community, and that's what the current executive has been unable to do.
Yeah.
We have some significant challenges, and the courthouse can't do it alone.
Right.
I mean, he has isolated himself on the 5th floor of the courthouse, away from the rest of the community, and said, if you want something, you need to come to me. That's not how it should work. We should be able to cross boundaries. The courthouse is not a silo. It's not an island in and of itself. It's part of our community. And the fact is, he had an amazing opportunity to do that when I got together with Erie Insurance and the Community Foundation, the Jefferson, and the Chamber, and created Infinite Erie. The idea was to empower both the mayor and county executive to interact with all the other funders in the community to solve big problems, to tackle big problems. So isolating yourself from an amazing collaborative table like that, it's foolish. It needs to be reversed. And on day one, I'll make county government part of Infinite Erie when elected, because we can't tackle these issues on our own. We can try, but we'll fail on the really hard issues. We need all layers of society, all these other resources to participate with the courthouse.
Critics say that Davis has played favorites with municipal funding. How do you, and I know you have some experience in this, how do you avoid politicizing the day-to-day operations of the county and who gets funding?
Listen, when I talk about bringing transparency and accountability back to the courthouse, I'm referring to my experiences at ECGRA and exactly what we did. Erie County Gaming Revenue Authority is a great case study in depoliticizing local funding.
Okay.
I can't imagine anything more toxic than group politicians throwing a bunch of money on a table. In this case, it was gaming revenue, and saying, okay, these 7 people who just appointed, figure it out. Like, it created multiple lawsuits, created chaos. I was the 4th director hired in 4 years.
Wow.
All the rest gave up or were let go.
Got it.
In that process. And I've been there for 14 years now.
Wow.
And the reason it worked was because we went in there and we said, okay, we need to effectively communicate with the community. We need to create clear guidelines. This isn't walking around money, as the term is known. This isn't something for politicians to hand out as they see fit. We need to have a fair, open, transparent process to get these funds. And then we went and talked to the people who would be applying for the funds and asked them for their opinions. Tell us what these guidelines look like. Do these programs make sense? So we got the community on board. We got the elected officials on board. And I think overall it's been a great benefit to the taxpayers. You have to run county government that way. You have to professionalize it. If it's a service provider, which is the main role, it's not like the idea that you would have a law enforcement badge as county executive is ridiculous because it is an administrative unit, not a law enforcement entity. So we have to get back to professionalizing the court. I know it's not as sexy as wearing a badge, but it is the fundamental aspect of the job is to administer services.
A very, very real badge, everybody. I have listeners in, as of now, 66 cities, but for those of you in Erie, you get it. In closing, I would love to hear, you mentioned at the beginning you love Erie, it's your home. What is it that you love about Erie? It's a general question, but...
Boy, that would have been a great warm-up question to start off with.
It's the feel-good question at the end.
It's the feel-good question, yeah. Okay, so I do love this community. I do think that we have bright days ahead of us.
Yes.
I mean, there is so much going on. You have all the development going on downtown with the EDDC. You have the Community Schools Initiative, which clearly looks at our public schools as community centers and a great new avenue in order to provide them resources. You have tremendous waterfront development going on between the Convention Center Authority, which is a partly Erie County-based authority, and what Gus Pine is doing down there is phenomenal. We're going to see some exciting stuff from him too. You've got the Scotts. You've got the airport expanding. You've got Erie Insurance, which has made a gigantic investment in our community, and now steps up. A guy like Tim Nicastro stepping up and getting himself involved in our community. You can't underestimate it. We have one of the largest community foundations in the country. We have 4 institutions of higher ed that produce engineers and teachers and nurses. We have the largest osteopathic medicine school in the country and dental school in the country. We have a thriving tourism industry. We've got sports teams. We've got great high schools and middle schools. And we just have so many assets. And if we could continue to leverage those assets and put them together, I think you're going to have jobs here for the future. And you're going to have a thriving economy and a thriving population. But it starts with political leadership. Political leadership supporting the private sector and the civic sector to do their jobs.
Don't forget Presque Isle.
I do love Presque Isle. It's my favorite place to walk.
Your list is better. That's the obvious one, I think. And where can people find you online? How can people support your campaign?
Sure. We have a website, voteperrywood.com.
Okay.
And you can also check out our Facebook page if you search Perry Wood. And we have an Instagram page, too.
Thank you for being here. This was great. I'm really, really happy to have heard a little bit more about your vision for Erie County, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the campaign goes. Perry Wood, everybody.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed the discussion.
I did, too. Thank you.